Hey everybody, welcome to Wellness Wednesday.
It's going to be an awesome show today, you guys. Hello. Today is, like Crystal said, our Wellness Wednesday, and we have a special guest today. It's so exciting to even talk to him. He's so busy, and he's so I want to say important.
That's good. No, I don't know. All
Because
kinds of things.
he's really doing some things, and so it's pretty amazing what he's doing in the field that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to hurry up and get through the testimony of how we start the show, because you guys already know that we start the show with Crystal's amazing testimony of her health journey and why we began this whole thing, because it's important to know why we do things, you guys, and what the purpose is, and to keep the purpose going, because you've already known what you're going through. So if that makes any sense, did that make any sense to anybody out there? Thank you, Crystal. Oh, Crystal Dominguez, just go ahead and tell us what your testimony is.
All righty. Hi everybody. So I'm a holistic health coach and an herb specialist, and I do an array of things: iridology, some kinesiology, all kinds of fun stuff, biofeedback. And
hold on. You said a kinesiology, whatever that was. Say it again and tell them what it is.
kinesiology, it's basic muscle testing, and it does have to do with energy, kind of like what we're talking about today.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's used in holistic forms of health, so it's very fun, and a lot of chiropractors actually use that as well.
Actually, one time we're going to go through, and I've been threatening to do this forever, but one of our shows, we're going to literally go through everything that is done in our business, so that you can see everything that is afforded to you when you become partners with us, and how we can help you guys through your health journey. But go ahead, Crystal. I am so sorry.
No, you're
That's
fine.
one of the words that I've been wanting to say. Slow down and tell people what that is.
Yep. So it has to do with energy and frequencies, basically. And so it's the little way of doing things and helping out with your health and figuring things out. So, but years ago, when I was 18 and 24, when I was 18, I was actually diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And then that is an inflammatory bowel disease. It's basically one step down from Crohn's disease. More people know about Crohn's than they do about ulcerative colitis. It's more heard of, I guess you could say. And so, I was down and out both times, 18 and 24, lost about 30 pounds in a month. The second time was worse when I was 24. I had a 2-year-old daughter at the time, and I went down to 97 pounds. I had to quit my jobs, all kinds of things. And I was hospitalized for several days. The doctors talked about, giving me steroids, chemo, being on ulcerative colitis medications. They talked about surgery. And I was 24 at this time. So this didn't feel like a good answer to me. And I knew from before, because I've taken the medications before, like steroids. I've taken few different ulcerative colitis medications to try them. And, things just always made it worse. Those things just made it worse. I bled more internally, had more pain. All kinds of stuff was happening. And so I went to our naturopathic doctor, which is also KATHEY's as well. And we've learned from so many other naturopathic doctors, functional medicine doctors, all kinds of things, chiropractors, you name it. And I just learned about diet, lifestyle, nutrition, working on my body holistically, getting to the root cause and not just focusing on symptoms. And my body actually started to heal. And the doctors told me that you're never going to be cured. Ulcerative colitis is autoimmune, it's uncurable, that you're going to have to take medications for the rest of your life, and you're possibly get your colon removed and all these things. And this again, that was not the answer for me. So when I was 24, I had enough. That was the second round that had happened to me, and I had to go all in. I had to learn everything I could. I stood under naturopathic doctors and their teaching, and I got certified for different things. And because I wanted to help the world, I wanted to share with them what natural holistic medicines could do for them, because what it could do for me when I got rid of it, and doctors can't explain it, why I no longer have ulcerative colitis. They said I'd basically have all this inflammation for the rest of my life and disease. And I just want to share with the world, we can do more than that. And KATHEY and I, we've helped so many people so far, with different elements, you name it: diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety, depression, sleep issues, you name it. We have done and helped people holistically, including ourselves, our family, and we just have a passion for it. It's a joy to help others and see the significant difference when you change when their life just like changes right in front of you, and they're feeling better, and they no longer have to take medications, or they no longer have diabetes, and they can control it with diet. So that's just some of the things that, you know, make us want to, you know, just share our passion with you and educate about holistic health.
And it's not even magical, you guys, it's manageable.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when doctors give you gloom and doom, just know that you can change it by just eating correctly and
Yeah.
having the right environment around you, and having the right energy around you, having the right frequencies around you, having the right, you know, vibes is what we used to do. Crystal and I used to do vibe of the day. And it would bring up people's vibe, because it was amazing to have these good sayings and things come at you on a daily basis.
Affirmations.
You know.
Yep, affirmations. We would have
Affirmations.
affirmations and just sending everybody just positive
Yeah.
love, you know, and it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to bring on our show, because I was about to say something that's really important, but he might have the answer to this. And if not, I'll flub it. But our guest today is David Pritchard, and he is amazing. He is one of we are now working with David with our new service that we have on our show, on our services. And so we just so happy to have him on. Can you bring him on for us?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Yeah, so we do a little girl talk in the beginning, but mostly about Crystal, because to just think that she wouldn't have been, if she had gone along the same path that she was going, just to think of her not being here is mind blowing to me. Every single time I hear her testimony, it's like, wow. Ulcerative colitis, you guys, is not just a stomach ailment.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely painful, and it's open sores throughout your entire digestional tract. Can you imagine that? And there's acid there. Anyway, so her being here is a freaking miracle.
Thank you.
And the fact that she changed her life because of it is just amazing to me. So that's why we take that time to show you guys and tell you guys. But David, I'm going to have him tell us who he is and what he does, and his testimony as well as to why he's here. And then also just go into the frequency part of it. But David, talk to us. Tell us what's going on with you.
You bet. Crystal, your testimony reminds me a lot of my wife's testimony. When she was a teenager, she was gaining unexplained weight gain, and they couldn't figure it out. She was eating like 800 calories or 500 calories. And the doctors finally was telling her mom, look, she's lying to you. She's sneaking food. It's all in her, head. And so that's at that point, her mom was like, you know what? We need to stop dealing with these doctors and really find out what the cause of this is. And that's when they met. My mother-in-law's sister was in a Bible study with a holistic doctor named Dr. Corrine Allen. And they sent my wife as a teenager and her grandfather out to see her to help. And it really worked. They got into the homeopathics and doing herbs and supplements and such, and this would have been 30 years ago or more than that. We've been married 32 almost 32 years next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So that's when she got involved in holistic health. When I met her and then married her, now I'm more into holistic health rather than allopathic health. So from the very beginning, we rarely go to the doctor, a traditional doctor, unless like I once crashed ATV and broke 5 ribs and punctured both lungs. I had to go to the emergency room in that case. But otherwise, we don't. We talk to Dr. Allen when we have a question about health. We are proactive in our health and do things more holistically. In fact, I have 3 kids that are in their 20s that have never had a vaccination in their life, for instance, even as infants. We've been anti-vax before it was cool, So that's been our background as we've grown up. So 2 years, and then my background degree is in piano performance. I'm a musician. I used to be like a jazz pianist in a kind of a
very
funk
cool.
jazz
I
band in the
love
Denver
that.
area. I was the only white guy in the band, so that means we were
Yeah.
really good, you know. And that was awesome. And then we moved back to where my wife is from in Nebraska, and I opened a recording studio, and I would do music production and produce music for people with their, they bring in their songs
Oh
they had
my
written, and we would
gosh,
create
that
these
is so
songs that sound
cool.
great. And then I became a piano
Talking my
technician, so I
language
would
now.
tune and
Talking
I
repair
my
know
language
pianos.
that's what I'm
now.
saying.
Yeah,
That is so cool.
that is cool.
So yeah, then I began, basically being a piano technician, tuning and repairing pianos. That was my business. I've always been self-employed. Hate working for someone else. Always entrepreneurial in a way. Usually have multiple ways of earning income, multiple streams of income, and so that's kind of my mental the way
Yeah.
I look at life. So so 2 years ago, in May of 2020, this friend, Dr. Allen, that I was telling you about, that's known my daughter since she was a teenager, she called me up and said, David, there's this little device out of Germany, this frequency device, and it's going to change your life. And I was like, oh, come on. Now, what do you got? What are you trying to sell me? Right. And honestly, I did not have an understanding of frequency and energy medicine. I had heard of a thing called a Rife machine. I'd heard that story once about Rife, but I had never seen one,
Can you
used one,
spell
never
that
been to a
for me?
practitioner.
Can you spell that for
Rife,
me?
Rife. So there was a
Okay.
man in I think the 30s, named Dr. Royal Raymond Rife, created a device, the first
Okay.
frequency device, where you kind of hold on to these little copper rods, and they would do a specific frequency that would flow through the cells in the water in your body. And he would find out that just maybe 221.8 hertz would help with something, and he was
Wow.
actually at the point where he was shattering cancer cells. He was curing people of cancer. So right at the same time, the Rockefellers were deciding that allopathic medicine is the way we're going to go. I don't know if you knew this, but back in the 30s, there were more colleges that taught naturopathic medicine than pharmaceutical type medicine. But the
Yeah.
Rockefellers decided, wait, we've just invested a lot of money in pharmaceuticals and we want to change that. So they actually shut down all these colleges. They shut down practices. They shut down Raymond Royal Rife's lab, destroyed his business, and unfortunately destroyed a real viable way of doing healthcare with frequencies. And even before that, Albert Einstein said the future of medicine is the medicine of frequencies. They knew this way back then, but it was suppressed. It's been kept from us. And Tesla says, if you want, Nikola Tesla, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, vibration, and frequency. So they've known, these very, very smart people have known about frequency and energy all along. And our bodies were basically a giant battery. We're electrical beings. Every cell has a cellular voltage and an energy, and the different cells of our bodies resonate at a specific frequency that's
And
different.
the
A skin cell
conduit
is
is
different from a
water,
liver
because
cell.
we're mostly made of water too. So that conduit is
Exactly.
water.
Yep. And then
Yeah.
you got, so I didn't understand most of that. Honestly, I thought when you'd heard of people doing, remote frequency sessions, I thought they were nuts. Now I do them all the time. When I heard the term chakras, I thought that was like some Buddhist thing or Hindu thing, and I'm a Christian, so that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I'm realizing, God made our bodies this way. We have those chakra energy centers, whether you like to call them chakras or not, they're there. God created that. As a Christian, one things that jumped to my mind at first when I started struggling with that idea was there's a in the Bible where it says there's a woman that had an issue with a long-term issue with bleeding. She reached through the crowd, touched Jesus's robe. She was instantly healed. And Jesus turned around and said, "Who touched me? I felt energy flow from me." I'm thinking, well, that sounds like energy healing or frequencies. That's right there in the Bible. So that's just how we're made. And so I don't know if you have any more specific background or questions about my background, but I can just share what I've been doing for the last 2 years if you like.
That's perfect. But I wanted to know your personal journey as to why you actually got into the high frequency healing for yourself.
Well, like I've said, I've always been entrepreneurial, so I have been involved up until January of 2020.
Like
my main
what
business.
caused you to go this route, I guess is what I'm saying. Was it
Well, the
just
holistic,
the divine?
marrying into my wife's family, you know, and you know, she said, "This is how we're going to do healthcare." I said, "Okay," and then I
Love
became a
it.
believer. Honestly, you know what? Here's a funny story. As we were engaged, my mother-in-law was working closely with this Dr. Crean Allen, and she would do muscle testing, and they would try do it on me, and I thought she was nuts. It's like she's pushing on my arm. She's thinking, does he need 2 drops of this or 3 drops of this? And
Yep.
supposedly her brain in the language of English is transferring to how hard she pushes or how whether I, you know, it just sounded nuts to me. And I was like freaking out. And my wife's pastor had to calm me down, like talk me off of a ledge. You know, this is okay. It's okay. This is, you know, God created us this way. You know, this is, you know, medical doctors don't know everything yet. You know, we're learning. So that's kind of where it started, and then I came around, and now I'm, you know, I'm fully proponent of doing things more holistically. So I had been working with a company part-time because I was a piano technician. I actually became the piano technician at Liberty University in Virginia
Oh, okay.
to because it put all 3 of my kids through college with no tuition. So
Oh, wow.
I was doing this in Nebraska as a
Smart.
profession. Our daughter was already going to Liberty to get a degree in music and worship leading and stuff. And so I contacted the music department, said, "Look, you guys need an on-staff piano technician. I'm your guy." And so they hired me
That's
and
awesome.
gave us free tuition for our 3 kids. But I was also doing another business that has to do, and maybe you're familiar with, you know, water. Obviously, very important was the ionized reduced water or electrolyzed reduced water. In this case, it was a brand called Kangen water out of Japan.
Yeah, I know about
And
Congo.
so I was very involved with that, and you know, was making a full-time income on a part-time business basis with that company. In fact, making as much or more than I was making with my full-time job at the university. So I actually,
Wow.
in January of 2020, I quit my job, saying, you know, all of our kids had graduated by that time, were married and moved away. You know, we were in Virginia. Our daughter, who was starting to have grandkids, was in um, Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm actually in her house right now. And
Mm.
our 2 sons and their spouses live in Kalispell, Montana. So it's a long ways from Virginia, all those. And so we're like, we need a way that we can have some mobility. So I quit my job intending to do that Kangen water business full time and build through the internet. So that's what I was doing. And then Dr. Allen called me about this little frequency device here that I've been promoting for the last 2 years in May of 2020. And she said it's going to change your life. So there we go. And Crystal showed it as well. So she had to explain what it is just over the phone, but we trust her so much. We bought one right off the bat, you know, on the spot. Never see it, never used it, never tried it. And then they were back ordered 5 weeks. It took 5 weeks for us to get it, but I instantly just started telling people about it, educating people about it, even though I'd never used one yet. And I
Yep.
sold 14 of these little devices before I even got mine, you know, in
Oh
5
my
weeks.
goodness.
So
Wow.
it just went crazy, and just, you know, start building this whole network of people that love the Healy, or sorry, the German frequency
That's fine.
device. And yeah.
You guys just
But
call it Healy. It's gonna slip out every now and
all
again,
right,
but go
it's
ahead.
gonna slip out. The
It's
brand
fun.
name of this is called Healy. So
Yeah.
and so I just got real excited about it as a business too, because I had been learning internet marketing and how to do Facebook ads and how to do this and that, because I wanted something that I could do from my laptop and be able to
Mm-hmm.
travel so we could see our kids and we weren't tied down to a location with a job. So here's what's happened since then. The business has gone great, but we sold our house in March 3rd of this year.
Wow.
We live in an RV now and we travel. So we do this
I
full
forgot
time.
about that.
Yes.
I did
I
too.
totally forgot
So-
about that. Stephanie, which is his wife, told me
Mhm.
that that's what they were doing. You guys were on your way to your, but let me give you a little bit of background real quick. Like we said, we are business partners with Mr. David here, and we were at a convention in April. Am I right? Yeah.
A conference, yeah.
The
Mhm.
conference, yeah.
Mhm.
And so I met his wife and we talked, and she was saying, yeah, well, when we leave here, we're gonna get in the RV and we're gonna go And I'm like, oh, okay. She told me about all that he just said. And I was like,
Mhm.
that's pretty cool that they're able to just
I love that.
just get in their RV and just go to their kids wherever they want to be. And have you guys left there
That's
since
our
April?
house.
No.
Yeah. March 3rd, we moved into an RV. Now it's a nice. It's 42-foot long, and
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
a
wow.
wheel RV that we pull behind our truck,
Mm,
a big truck. And
Yeah.
it's 4 parts that slide out. We do
wow.
not. We went from a 3,600 square foot house to a 300 square foot RV, and we don't miss the house at all. It's really
Wow.
nice. So, selling your
You're
house, you
making
can
me
afford to
rethink my
buy a
life.
nice RV.
Go ahead.
I'm living every millennial's dream right now, and
Yeah.
we're traveling around the country. So, we're actually leaving. We're down in Georgia right now, seeing my parents live here, and my daughter and her husband and her 2 little grandsons. Right after this meeting, I am going to take my grandson to the park and get some ice cream and do that kind of thing. But we're leaving tomorrow. We're driving over a couple days to Nebraska, western Nebraska, where my wife is from, for a week, and then we're going to Wyoming, where some family is. But then we're going to Kalispell, Montana, for 3 or
Oh,
4 weeks,
wow.
where our sons are, and we don't know where we're going after that. We're just gonna
Exactly.
we'll
Wherever you
figure it
want,
out
right?
later.
Yep.
Yeah, wherever we want. But we do this. I explain the Healy and what it does over
Mhm.
Zoom all the time,
Mhm.
and it
So
really
explain
is
what it does.
incredible.
Okay, so now
Okay,
we know that it's
so
a German frequency,
mhm,
a German device that throws frequencies at people. Um, I know that it's FDA cleared for pain management when it comes to arthritis and soreness and exertion and things of that sort.
Chronic pain.
So
mhm,
say that
yeah,
again.
Chronic and acute pain.
chronic
Chronic
pain,
and
yeah,
acute
chronic
pain.
acute.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I
No,
didn't
you're
hear it.
fine.
And so, and you don't have to, actually, you don't have to go any further than that parameter today, because we don't want to blow everybody's circuit, their mind circuit. But let me just tell everybody this. I never ever thought that I would talk about quantum physics and it be a part of my life ever in my life.
Yeah.
So the fact that I'm able to say that I'm a part of a company that actually does quantum physics for people in helping them heal their bodies is mind blowing to me right now anyway. But
Mhm,
for me personally, it is a very good chronic pain um, eliminator. Like it totally takes my chronic pain away. You
That's
guys know
awesome.
I talk about my knee all the time. And I think I've talked to you guys about my spinal stenosis.
Mm-hmm.
After I started eating well, though, a lot of that pain went away because the inflammation went away. But I'm 60 years old, you guys, and my body is not the same as it was. So I still get aches and pains, and I still have, chronic. I call it very chronic because it's daily. So I'm healing myself on a regular basis. I do. And when I do, it's a wonderful difference. My sciatica really bothers me and it helps a lot with my sciatica.
Awesome.
So I just wanted to say that real quick, but go ahead and tell us exactly what it does.
Yeah, well, a lot of people use frequencies for health in different ways. You can use
Mhm.
sound frequencies, which I was very familiar with sound frequencies, having a record studio and
Yeah.
tuning pianos. We're talking about hertz and frequencies, but
Yep.
never as far as how it relates to health. Like light frequency, but the other is microcurrent frequency, which is through an electrical mild current, like the Rife machine from the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a company out of Germany called Time Waver that developed a very expensive therapist device. It could be between $20,000 and $40,000. It's called the Time Waver. But there's 2,500 or 3,000 therapists around the world that own this device, and you can go into them, pay them a lot of money to do a frequency session where it's
Which is how much?
microcurrent, like the Healy. That
They were how
What do they
much an
charge?
hour?
I don't know what they charge. I have no idea.
I've heard 1,000 and up
So did
usually.
I.
Oh my goodness.
I heard
Oh my
1,000 and
goodness. I
above.
had not heard that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
So what they did is the same company developed the Healy to be initially kind of a way that those therapists could offer a product that their clients could use in between sessions or at home and
Mm-hmm.
do frequency medicine all the time. So the programs in here are these programs from this $40,000 machine that they've figured out all these frequencies. So the idea is if you put a current through your body, because we're water, we conduct electricity. at specific frequencies, it has specific benefits. You see ATP production increases in the cell, protein synthesis increases, amino acid transport increases. That's all been proven. And so they're just finding out that if you want to improve circulation in the body, you know, that could be things with inflammation, it can be hydration, it can be all stuff, but there's frequencies that can affect all of that. And so it does specific frequencies. So what we're doing, like the way I have it working right now, you turn it on and I've got these wires here and they're going to these electrodes on my wrists. Or you can have adhesive electrodes where you just stick it on your shoulder for shoulder pain or something. And but you run the program and you can see, you just run it with your phone. It's on a smartphone and or a tablet. It'll show you what it's doing, the frequencies it's using. You choose a program. I was just running the one that just ended. You heard that little music, that was the program ending. And I was running one for the whole category called job, and I was doing one called activation. I figure if I'm going to be talking on here, I'd like to be activated, right? So that's the one I had just done. But what I have noticed, here's just my own testimony from using this now for 2 years. Well, what makes the Healy unique compared to like a Rife machine? A Rife machine, you have a big catalog, and it'll say if you are having issues with liver, whatever, or spinal stenosis, or whatever you said, Kathy, you would look that up, and it would say 828.6 hertz, and you would dial into that, hit start. It's just doing one frequency.
Gotcha.
Now you have to play doctor, and you hope you're getting the right thing, the right symptom, right? The right disease, the right issue. With the Healy, it actually is able, and the Time Waver, the bigger device, it can scan your bioenergetic field. It has what they call a quantum sensor, quantum physics, quantum entanglement, all this stuff we don't understand, but we just know it works. And it can scan that information field around your body, which is an electromagnetic field that we have. And there's information in there. They call it the information field. The guy that invented all this, the guy that invented all this is named Marcus Schmieke out of Germany. And he's a quantum physicist, but he was also a Buddhist monk for 10 years. So he's a really interesting guy. I was just talking to him in Orlando. I met him in Orlando a couple of weeks ago. He's a musician like me too. He took classical piano growing up. In his 20s, he was in a band, but it was like a Indian spiritual music band. And he ended up touring with Boy George for 6 weeks. I was like, he's a really interesting guy. And he's the guy that invented the Healy, you know. He's a really eclectic, interesting guy. So this is really cool. So for me, when I would do those scans initially, the two things that would come up most for me were sciatica, local program. And I had for 10 years been having sciatica. You know, sometimes I wouldn't sit and flare up and I'd be doing all these stretches and things. Now for the last 2 years, I've only had one flare up, which was when we were selling our house and we were moving a whole bunch of stuff into a storage unit. I was bending and lifting and you know, it kind of flared up a little there, but otherwise in this last 2 years, I haven't had any sciatic pain. It's been so cool. And the other thing that was saying also this just a program for nerves, which could be also related to sciatica, but I had kind of numbness in this finger. I'd had a couple months before getting the Healy, I'd had a pinched nerve at my shoulder blade area. And I gone to a chiropractor to fix that. When that pinched nerve happened, I had numbness in my elbow and this whole arm and the side of my hand. And they fixed the pinched nerve, but I had this ongoing numbness in the finger. So it was really interesting to me that the scans would so often come up that I need to run this program for nerves. And it corrected it. And I hated that numbness because I play the piano and having that sensation that I could bang on it was just tingly. But that has corrected. And guess what? I rarely get the program for nerves anymore. You could actually see that the Healy is now working. You know, we just kind of do these scans and it'll say to work on this or that. It doesn't always seem to be related, but it's the Healy is saying that's the thing that's most resonant in your field that you need work on right now. Run this program. And over time, we just notice gradual improvement in all areas. But we do see some people with significant improvement immediately, like for things like pain and sleep. And actually, FDA cleared class 2 device for pain in the US, but over in Europe, their medical clearances include anxiety and depression and fibromyalgia. So they use those clinical terms as well. So we know it works for those things, but it does so much more than any of those clearances. It's just that's all
so
that traditional medicine has.
I tell you what, I participated in a retreat at the end of April. And I took 2 devices down, and then I made sure that the lady that was running the retreat had her device. So we had 3 devices down there. And you talk about breakthroughs.
Wow.
The Healy not only talks about your body, but it also talks about your spirit, your past, your emotions, a lot of stuff. And that's what I was like, I don't want to blow people's mind with this, but it is so awesome. And I even had somebody, David and Crystal, that went all the way back to the womb.
Wow.
He was an embryo. It literally said embryo, and he was picking up his mother's vibrations in the womb.
Wow.
It was mind-blowing. And I asked him, I said, are you close to your mom? And he said, yeah. I was like, well, this makes sense. And then everything after that it fell into place. And Crystal and I always teach that your body is healed not only through medicines or through herbs, but through your emotions, through your thought processes, through your spirit, through your mind. I mean, it's not just one faceted. We're not healed one faceted, because with every ailment, there's an emotional attachment to it. And if you can figure that out, then you can a lot of times get rid of the ailment. And the Healy helps with that.
Yeah. It's blown my mind so far. I was actually told about it back in 2020 when it came basically to the US. But no one could actually explain it, like what it actually did. No one could just elaborate like David here has told us so far. And then it was introduced to me a couple times after that, and I said no every time because nobody could explain it to me, like how to use it, different things. So it was recently reintroduced to me. Just what was it, March, I think. I have a client, and she has not been able to sleep for 7 years, and she would have to take like sleep aids, or she even tried Ambien. She's tried all kinds of herbs, tried all kinds of different holistic techniques, and nothing has helped. She might sleep 2 hours at a time maximum, and that's no way to live. Your gut gets messed up. All kinds of things just don't go well when you don't get enough sleep. And so she, one of our support team, who David also knows, Eric, we might bring him on the show down the road. But he was there with my client, and I was like, show me this. Like, I got to, because she started sleeping 8+ hours a night. Started using the Healy, and she started sleeping 8+ hours, not having to take no more, sleep aids or the Ambien or any other herb. She was just using the Healy, and she started sleeping 8+ hours a night. And so she called me up and she told me this, and I was just like, hold on, what? Because I've like tried everything with her, and I was like, when can I see you? I was like, I want to come see this. I want you to explain it to me, all these things. And so I went there. Eric and her, they did a scan session on me. And I have to say, I kind of related to what you were saying earlier, David, where your finger was numb and things like that. You're having nerve issues. I had a bad incident, back when I think 2020, when COVID first hit, and I had some numbness in my fingers and things like that. But ever since then, I've had some issues ever since that incident. And the first scan when I did on the Healy, it came up with like brain and nerves and stuff like that. And just that whole month before that, I was feeling nauseous. I was having like these twitches at night, uncontrollable twitching. Like, I didn't understand it. I've never had that before. Didn't know where it came from, but my body was just like jerking and not being able to control it. I did that scan, and I realized like the next few nights, I wasn't twitching. I slept better, all these things. And I'm like, what is going on right now? I was like, hold on. I didn't know what it did. It came up with brain and nerves. Not that I know what it did, but it knew what it did. You know what I mean? And it's sending me all the frequencies. And I was just like, okay, you got something here. And I said, if it can change that for me, and I don't even know what else it can do, I was like, I have to get this for my family, my clients. I have to just tell everybody. I was just so excited when I heard about it. So sorry, I just had to share that.
No, that's exactly what we're here for, is for people to see and know what it's actually doing for people. I had a client that she wasn't sleeping well due to a car accident. She was in chronic pain, and You saw the text messages that I was sending you, Crystal. You and
Mhm.
Maitreya, who was another. He's Maitreya. We can call him both ways. M. He's another team member of ours, and I would text him and Crystal her progression in sleeping, and it went from 4 hours to 6 hours to 8
Wow.
hours, and it was an amazing thing. And it didn't even happen slowly; like it was happening quickly. And it's like if we can see stuff like that immediately, why would we not introduce this to people? Go
Yeah.
ahead and read what that says.
Yeah, it says, as a Facebook user, I'm not sure the name, but it says, oh my gosh, I need this for my teenager. He has major sleep issues. Absolutely, you know, you can get in touch with Natural Health Hub, and you can go to our website and contact us there. We can either help you, we can give you your first free scan, you know, for first free session. We give everyone, when they've never used it before, one free session their first time. And then you can either choose to come back again and get more sessions, or we have the option of getting your own device. So
now, I do have a question for you, David. Okay, and now you're a Christian, I'm a Christian. I'm African American, in case you can't tell. I'm kind of washed out though, all the lights. But how did you talk to your Christian family about this? Like, the first thing I thought, because I fought with it as well. I don't know if I told Crystal or not, but I fought with it well. I had a long conversation with my son. I'm thinking, are people going to think this is witchcraft? Or people going to think that, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I also have the community that just will not just fall into line with something this out of the world.
out there.
This is really out
Woo
there.
woo. People say that's woo woo.
Yeah. So,
well, it's really helped that.
How do you do this? How do you do this? Tell me.
For me, it's been not as tough because Dr. Allen, the one that told me about this, has always kind of advised us with holistic remedies and stuff, is a strong Christian as well. But I just believe that doctors don't know as much as they think they do, and that God has made our bodies so amazing. I mean, can you imagine how much we've learned in just the last 50 years, how differently we do things? What's it going to be like 50 years from now, right?
Yeah.
We're going to all be using frequency technologies, will be everyday stuff, you know, for all sorts of things that we haven't even imagined yet. So this is really the future. And I just know God has made us this way. You know, what bothered me more was that they'll talk about like doing a chakra analysis, and that term comes from either Buddhism or Hinduism or something, but that doesn't mean that those energy centers don't exist. God made them, just because maybe it was discovered in that community and they coined the term.
Different term.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's fine. I know there's other people that call it energy centers. I kind of wish Healy would just call it the 7 energy centers. But and then they talk about, you know, aura analysis. And honestly, a lot of people that use the Healy that are very comfortable with that more of a new agey type thing, they love the Healy too. But we know it works. I can tell you even beyond the physical, because we talk about physical, mental, emotional, and so on. For my wife and I, we have a great marriage. Obviously, we've been married 32 years, and we're existing in a RV together and not killing each other. So we obviously must be doing okay. But we have noticed just in the last 2 years, just, I don't know if it's an emotional balance thing or what, but we're just a little more centered, or we're a little more, you know, we don't bicker as much. We don't get on each other's nerves quite as much. It's not perfect, but there's definitely balancing at that level going on. And one way that we really see it is with my wife. You know, when we watch a movie, what kind of a movie do you think we watch? We watch a romantic comedy, because she did not like action movies. She didn't like the tension. She didn't like the suspense. It just made her feel whatever, you know, that. Well, after doing the Healy, she says, I really think this is changing. She says, Dave, why don't we watch every one of those Marvel action movies in order? It was her idea. And I go, who is this woman that's hijacked my wife's body or something? Because she would never have wanted to do that. And so she actually downloaded a list off the internet where you could watch them in chronological order. We did that.
But we did, my husband.
Yeah, but she says, yeah, it's definitely the Healy that has just made it so that I'm not so anxious about that kind of thing, or don't, it doesn't
Yeah.
bother me. And but so we've just seen that even emotionally. She's also had things where she would get scans that would say scars local to run the scars,
Mm.
and she goes, I don't really have any scars, except she thought, I have a little bit of the kind of the acne scarring even from when she was a teenager. So she would put those electrodes, stick them right on her
Oh,
cheeks,
wow.
run that program, and it literally smoothed out the skin on her cheeks. I mean, that
Wow.
amazing. And then so I did some checkouts. That just sounds too unbelievable. But yeah, you go to these high-end skin doctor things, they use electrotherapy on skin. So
Yes.
it's not
Wow.
unheard of that it would work with frequency in this little device. Because when we run this, when I turn on this program and it runs these frequencies and you're monitoring on the phone, but you can feel that a little tingling in your
Yeah.
hands, so it's doing an actual electrical current just from the battery. And here's just a rechargeable battery. So it's
Mhm.
very low current, obviously, if it's just a rechargeable battery. And it doesn't
And
matter.
sometimes
It
you
doesn't
don't
have to
feel it
be
at
an
all. I
intense.
was about to say, yeah, sometimes you
Yeah.
don't feel it at all, and it's still doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you can tell on the screen whether or not you have conductivity through the body. There's either a
Exactly.
white line or a black line. If I unplug this, it goes
Exactly.
black. But when I plug it in, it's white, which means my body is creating the circuit and it's traveling between these two electrodes.
Uh-huh.
So I know the frequencies are running through my body, even if I don't feel it. But yeah, the point is, it's not that it has to be an intense electrical current. It just has to be at a specific frequency. So here's a way
Mhm.
to demonstrate that I do that is as a piano technician. I can, if you can imagine a piano, you play a note and this little damper comes up off the string so that it can ring. When you let go, the damper stops the string. If I hold down like the C above middle C, so the damper's up and the string can ring, but I'm not playing it, and then I play middle C, that string starts ringing. It's a resonant frequency that's shared. If I do play C but hold down C sharp, it doesn't ring. There's
Mhm.
not there's not a resonant harmonic frequency between those two notes. But C or the G above that, and then the next C, and then the E. There's certain notes that have a resonant where they can resonate vibrationally, and so I can demonstrate that in the piano. If you have two violins and you leave one just sitting in the room and the other one you start bowing the G string, the G string on the other one starts to vibrate because it
Mhm.
has a resonant frequency. So that's what we're doing. We're putting this
That's
specific
cool.
frequency that resonates with certain cells in the body or even thoughts and emotions.
Well, this is the way that I explain it to people, because it's like I said, I don't know if you understood my question, but I really wanted to know how to get into the African American community, because it's out there for us and not everybody's open to it. So I was wondering, how would you broach that? But we can talk about that later,
Okay.
because I do need to do that. But this is how I explain it to people. Think of a radio, because my father was in the Air Force and he explained to me radio waves. Okay, they're
Mhm.
infinite. They never stop. Radio waves never stop. So there's energy fields. They never stop. So, but the radio waves, say for instance, Crystal wants to listen to country music, you want to listen to jazz, and I want to listen to R&B. Okay, so Crystal wants to listen to rap.
Or hip hop.
I
Okay.
listen to R&B, and you want to listen to jazz. It's the same radio, but what we do is return the frequency or return the channel to whatever channel we want to listen to. That's what it tunes into. So in our bodies, it does the same exact way. Whatever the ailment is in the body that needs the frequency raised to the point where it needs to be healed, that's where the device hones in to that frequency to raise that frequency to heal it. That's how I
Balancing it.
explain it.
Yeah, balancing it basically.
Mhm.
Yep. So
Absolutely.
I do love the music thing though, because not everybody are musicians though, but everybody uses a radio.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's interesting because you also know that, for instance, when people play music, I've seen where there's, let's say, elderly people, and they're
They go,
basically, just sitting in a wheelchair all their life. They're not moving. They don't really, sometimes they have to someone has to feed them, whatever it is. And then a therapist comes and they play music. And I've seen these elderly people get up out of their wheelchair and start dancing, because the music, you have to understand, it is changing a frequency. It's going back to memory even. It's reaching parts of our brain that we don't always access. And so that's how I like to think of it too. Like when I think of the music and everything, because I can relate, you know, and then the radio kind of goes all, it's both of them are frequencies. The radio has a frequency, you know, like actual like tuning and stuff. And then so does music, those waves that just sound waves, water, sonar technology, you know.
Yeah, I think of whales too. Exactly. I think of whales and dolphins and how they communicate under the water. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, oh my God. I cannot believe we're already at the end of our show. This was so interesting. I hope that we piqued your interest, people. I hope that we piqued your interest. This is a non-invasive way to have healing come about in your bodies. You don't feel any pain in this, and you can't overdose on it. Now, you can get detoxed. So know that can happen.
Just like natural. And detox is good. It means it's working.
Yeah, exactly. It means that it's working. So just know that that's the only side effect that I've known it's people, you know, literally get detoxed, which is not a bad thing, like Crystal just said.
Just like you do a massage. After your massage, you're supposed to drink water because you're going to detox from them opening up all those, and releasing all those toxins.
That's right. I did it on another client, and the one thing she said is, I went to the bathroom all the time. And I was like, that's a good thing. Don't think of it as a bad thing. That means that it was working. She's like, if this is going to do this to me, I don't want it. But yes, you do. David, was there anything else you wanted to say before we left?
Well, you know, like Einstein, Tesla said, they already knew way back then that everything is frequency and energy. And now finally people seem to be waking up and understanding that. So if this is kind of new to you, you'll probably find that half your friends have heard of this kind of thing. And it really surprised me because I had not heard of it. And when I reached out to people, I basically would ask, the way I would open up the conversation, I would just say, have you ever heard of this idea of frequency medicine or energy medicine? And half the people were like, oh yeah, I've done this. I've gone to these doctors and done this. And I was like, really? I'd never heard of it. So you'll find a lot of people are starting to understand this, and it's becoming more and more mainstream. It's just, I think it's the wave of the future. We're excited about it.
So exciting. It's
so exciting.
So I'm containing myself, everybody. Just letting you know, like, this is very much contained. I'm just like a nerd. I'm geeking out over this.
Let it go, girl. Let it go. Let them see you.
Well, I just wanted to share one, since we were talking about Einstein real fast before we leave. Just like he said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of reality you want, and you cannot help but get the reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. So just like we talked about today, all these energy, mindset. A lot of people are stuck in a mindset, and honestly, if you start, even the Healy does this. Start speaking affirmations to you. I've seen the Healy, you know, vibrate these frequencies of flower essences and gemstones and essential oils, because all those have a frequency. It can raise our frequency. You know, he was talking about megahertz earlier, and how you measure different frequencies. It can just do so much when you start to raise your frequency, because when you're in a low mindset, to where you feel like you can't get out of this deep dark spot you're in, your frequency is actually low, and we need to raise those frequencies so you can help yourself, pull yourself out of that depression or whatever it is. You know, we want to get to the root cause and expand on that.
Well, and I did want to say that, David, while we were doing the conference, you did a lady in Rio de Janeiro. Was it Rio? You did someone.
Puerto Rico.
It was somewhere in Europe.
It wasn't Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
No? Okay.
No.
Somewhere else in the country.
Yeah.
In the world.
It was far away. She was closer to Australia. I do remember that, because it was their currency in Australia. But it's gonna come to me when we get off of here. But
New Zealand, maybe it was New Zealand.
Like, we did it in real life. Like, we did it as we were sitting there. He actually had her on a big jumbotron. We were watching the actual session happen, and she was able to see things and feel things. I mean, and I see it, but she was able to feel things. So she was all the way close to Australia, you guys. So,
you know, I just, if I have a minute to point out one other thing on science, because it is quantum physics. You know, we showed how you can do these wires, but look at this. This is so cool. This is this accessory we hook to it called the coil. Do you see that coil of wire? It's actually a Tesla coil. Many of you
Mhm.
probably heard of a Tesla coil. There's tons of YouTube videos and stuff about how Tesla would create this coil that could transmit energy across space. And this actually has 2 of them in here, and it creates something called a 0-point field. There you go.
Mhm.
And you can take the wires out, plug this in instead, and you have now a wireless Healy. It's a different kind of application. It's not going through the cells in your body the same, but it is balancing the energy in that energy field. And you can stick it in your pocket and do frequencies. So it's such high-tech quantum physics. I know Healy has hired like 13 new quantum physicists to develop new
Wow.
products. And there's things coming out with magnetic fields, and so many things coming up. You might have heard of med beds, they're coming
Yeah.
down the road someday. This is like
Yeah.
a med bed in your pocket
Wow.
today, because no one's
Mhm.
actually seen a real med bed yet, have you?
No.
Right? Maybe it's a rumor, I don't know, but this is one that actually works.
Well, I have to share real quick before we get off here about the test. I want to piggyback off that too, the Tesla technology. I used this for the first time remotely with one of my clients, and 2 hours, because she called me because she was supposed to visit me that day and come in and see me for a consultation, and she was in too much pain to get up out of bed or even put her shoes on. She's supposed to have surgery soon. All these things are happening, and I said, you know what? I just got this in the mail. I was like, I know it sounds crazy. I know you're not with me, but she's already had help from me before, so she trusts me. And I was like, all I need is a little bit of information, and I can start sending you a pain
Exactly.
program and different frequencies and all that. And she's like, yes, please. So she sent me her information within 2 hours, and I ran the scans on her. And within 2 hours, she texts me back and she says, "Oh my gosh," she's like, pardon my French, what the hell? She said, she goes, "You weren't even with me. I can now get out of bed. I can put my shoes over and bend over without my sciatica hurting and all these things." And I'm like, that's amazing. That blew my mind. So I just had to share that because that was my first rundown by myself using it for remotely for someone else, and it just blew my mind. Within 2 hours, she's calling me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's working." So wow.
Well, the majority of what we do is remotely because I'm not sitting in front of people.
Yeah.
Whenever I run scans, it's totally people that are not sitting in front of me, which is what I love because of COVID and now monkeypox. I mean, I'm so glad that I'm not touching and talking and
Oh.
being with people. We don't need to do that, but that's what I mean by it being non-invasive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely an amazing device that we have at our fingertips. And I don't believe we've even touched what all it can actually do.
No. Yeah. Can't
I just
explain that in
believe.
40, 50 minutes.
Yeah, you can.
We're going to have you on again sometime, David.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, I want to thank you, David, for coming on. I know you're busy. Even if it's busy being a granddad, you're still busy. I love it.
Yeah.
Tell Stephanie we said hello. Thank
Will
you for
do.
joining us today. You guys, thank you for tuning in, for listening, for wondering what it is we're talking about. Just contact Crystal and I through our website, which you already know it. And then just know that help is out here, and it doesn't have to be a scalpel. It doesn't have to be what is it, fentanyl and all those
Narcotics.
narcotics. We don't need to have all that anymore. And just know that there is a new wave of medicine out here, and Crystal and I are on the very cusp of it. And how exciting is that? I love it. All right, you guys. So you have a great rest of your evening, afternoon, day, week. But contact us if you're in chronic pain. There is a possibility that your insurance will pay for this because, like I said, it was FDA cleared for chronic pain. So if you have chronic pain and you believe that this can help you, please contact us and we can probably get it through to your insurance. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.